going to be an introduction to the Builder's Automation kerfing saw. This particular machine is used. It has the ability to cut boards up to 12 inches wide and 1.5 inches thick. You adjust the distance between the kerf with this handle, and you can set it up by simply turning it. This handle here adjusts the height of the saw blade into the material, and you can adjust the number of kerfs on these two knobs here. I will give some information on how to determine how many cuts equal to the radius of a board with the saw. We've put all new cylinders on it. We replaced most of the valves. We replaced all the tubing. So I'm gonna get a board, place that in. This is a piece of 3/4 inch plywood, 6.5 inches tall. I guess it'd be about the average for a riser. So when you put the board in the material in the saw, there's a few things you have to take into account. Once the saw starts cutting the board, the kerf will be very fragile, so it has to be treated gently. So if it were to still stay under the saw, it would get crushed. So what I recommend is that you bring the board out until it is just on the fence, solid. That way you don't have any small kerf pieces that get broken off. Once you've determined how many cuts you have to make times the width between them, that'll give you the length in which the kerf has to be, the number of kerfs. So you'll then have to determine how much board you have hanging out behind the clamp, because once the board has migrated past the clamp, obviously it won't be able to push the board through the saw anymore. So you have to have a board that's long enough so that it can get the sufficient number of cuts in it. Alright, so once the material is in, this sensor here turns on. This is the saw, the wood in sensor. Without that being on, the saw will not turn on. You also have to have air on the machine and obviously power, at which point you can turn the key. Saw is now spinning. The guard is not currently on there. There's a guard that goes over the front here. Then you select the number of kerfs you want. In this case it's 14, and then we can run it. Okay, so the unit shut off. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. So if you just pull this riser out, there's a very good chance you'll actually break it, depending on how thick you've cut into it. So I always suggest you push it through. That way you have a solid board to work with. So this was just 14 cuts, just because it's obviously a video. There you go.